Studio Online. My name is Jessie. I'm going to be teaching you this painting here called Nevermore. It's one of my favorite paintings, so I'm super excited. It's super kind of messy, so if you guys have a towel or anything, you're going to want to have that nearby because it's really really loose and gestural. We have a lot of different kind of textures going on here. I'll give a little close-up so you can see you've got some little drips on the bottom and top. You've got lines here inside the burns that you can make with the back of your brush. We've got a lot of different exciting things that are going to be happening in this painting, so get ready. So before we get started though, we have a couple of supplies that I want to go over. So first of all, you've got a roll of 4 brushes here. You've got your large flat brush, got your medium flat brush, your medium round brush, and your tiny detail brush. I'll be telling you which of these we're going to be using throughout our painting. But for now, we're just going to put them brush side down in this little water cup that you should have, and hopefully it's full of water. It's a great place for your brushes to just kind of chill when you're not using them so that they don't dry out. It's also good for washing off your brushes in between colors. And then you've also got this little handy dandy rag that's great for drying off your brushes once you have washed them. And then lastly, you should have your palette and some paint. For this painting, we're only going to be using mostly black and white, then a little bit of blue and a little bit of brown. So those are just the colors we're going to be using. But if you guys want to change anything about this painting, if you want to change the colors or the style, or the birds, or everything really, you guys, it's up to you. I want you to be happy with your painting because it's going to be done in the safety of your own home, so I wanted to make you happy in this trying time. So that being said, we're going to work from back to front, so starting with this really drippy, kind of messy looking background. We'll start there. Oh, and since this is a video, guys, if there's any point where you want to pause it to let the paint dry or to kind of go do something, run some errands, or grab a drink, absolutely feel free to pause the video, and then whenever you're ready to paint again, you can just unpause it. So that being said, I'm going to grab my largest flat brush here, and you can see our background is kind of a little mishmash of mostly black around the sides, and then you get into some grays, whites, and a little bit of blue tints here and there. And now, especially with this painting, no two paintings are going to be alike, so don't feel bad if it doesn't look exactly like this. It's a lot of really unique, kind of impressionistic, almost gestural, loose colors and shades and all that, so it's all going to be different, so don't worry. But I'm just going to dip into black, and we're just going to slather this on our painting. And you kind of want to get a lot of paint on there so it'll mix and be wet and mix with the paint for a long time, so we don't want it to dry out. I'm getting a lot of paint on there, and I'm kind of just avoiding covering the middle area in black because it gets a little bit lighter in the center. I'm just going around the edges here, slapping some paint on. And I'm doing mostly kind of up and down vertical strokes here, but if you want, you can do some like weird angled stuff, some swirls, what have you, but I'm starting with black here. And then once I'm done, I'm not even gonna like wash off my brush. I'm just gonna dip straight into white, and we're gonna start blending that into the black that we have here on our canvas. Now this is just to kind of cover everything up first, and then we'll get into some of those cool little textures and details in a little bit. And I'm really just kind of going to town on this canvas, blending it however I want. Doing some different kind of marks here. You can also go back to your black if you want to get that darkness back in the edges. Maybe get some cool little textures. Kind of angling my brush in a whole bunch of different ways so that it gets some different shapes going on here. Wash off my brush. And if you want to get some more pure black in there, I do recommend washing off your brush so that it doesn't pick up as much of the white on your brush while you are painting. Yeah, that's cool. And so now we're going to start to go in. Oh, one last thing. If you guys want, you can add a little bit of blue here as well. So I'm just going to wash off my brush, get a little bit of blue and kind of dab this in a couple areas on my canvas if I want there to be just a little hint of some blue here and there. Doesn't have to be a lot, just to get a little bit of color in there. You can also use different colors if you want. If you want it to be a super colorful painting, totally go for it. I'm always about adding color. I'm gonna add some of this. Alright, and the next thing we're gonna do is start to add some of these little drippies in here. So I'm gonna grab my medium flat brush and I'm gonna get some water onto my palette, and I'm gonna first go in with some black paint. So get some really watery black paint on your palette. You're mixing a lot of water with some paint. You want to get a lot of it on your brush too when you're doing this. So I'm kind of scooping it up, putting it on my canvas. You want to get a lot of water in here so that it'll drip. Just gonna put it on your canvas. Let it go. There we go. There's some drips going on. And just kind of let it do its thing. And this might take a little bit of time, so feel free to take your time with these drips. Let them do what they will. You can also kind of make your own little streaks if you want. And they don't all have to be coming from the top of the canvas. You can have some that are falling mid-canvas. Yeah, so I've got some drips in there. Now I'm gonna do kind of the reverse and do some white drips. So I'm just gonna add a lot of water to my white paint, which is kind of gray now because I got some black in it, but that's okay. Do the same thing, kind of drip this down my canvas. You can also kind of do it from the top as well if you want some contrast. Always a good thing. If you want, you can even throw some more blue in there. If you want to get some blue drips going on. Just wash with my brush, get some really wet blue paint. Get some cool blue drips in there. Alright. Now that that's on there, we've got a whole lot of paint here on our canvas. So we do want to let this all dry before going in with our bird. But before we do that, we can actually add some textures in there that aren't paint, kind of anti-paint textures, I guess. So I'm taking the back side of any one of my brushes, doesn't matter which one. I'm using the medium round one. So I'm just using the back of it, and I'm kind of just dragging it across my canvas in however way I want. It kind of looks like it could be branches, but I'm just doing this wherever I want there to be some cool lines. It kind of takes the paint off, gives it some cool texture. You can also use this for where you want the branch to be, where the birds are sitting. So I'm just going to take that down there. Add some interesting lines here. There. Awesome. So now we want this all to dry, like I said, so I'm just gonna get that in there, and then you guys will want to pause this video. It's gonna be a bit of a longer break, 20 to 25 minutes for this all to dry, depending on how much paint you put on your canvas. So we'll just wait a little bit, and then whenever you guys are ready to jump back in, you can just unpause the video. Alrighty guys, so once you've got all of your background done and it's completely dry for now, we're gonna go in and start on our birds. So I'm gonna grab my medium flat brush. And we're just gonna kind of mark out the gesture we want the birds to have for now. So I'm just gonna dip into pure black paint. And you can see how this one is kind of on an angle towards the right, this one's on an angle towards the left, and it's a bit lower. If you guys want to change up the gesture of the birds, feel free to do so, but I'm just going to kind of follow along with this one. So this first one is farther off to the left and it's leaning the opposite way, so I'm just going to kind of make a line like that. There's that one, and then the other one is a little bit lower and it's leaning kind of the opposite way. There. So we've got the gesture of both of those birds here. And then we can start kind of building the shapes for them. So you can see that they've got obviously the head, which is like a little bit of a circle on top, and then the bodies are kind of like a teardrop shape, like an upside down teardrop shape. So I'm going to start there, and I'm making my shapes really angled and kind of geometric, just because I think that is a cool look. So you can just kind of start to build the shapes of your birds however you want, keeping in mind that the bulk of the body is up here and then the point is kind of where the tail is going to be. So you can also have some of the shapes not be completely connected with the line. You can have some lines poking out, some jagged edges. It's a really kind of expressive painting, so don't feel like you gotta keep your lines clean and smooth like that. So I'm gonna go and do the head now. Just kind of a circle. And then the beak is just like any bird beak, kind of curved at the end. These are ravens or crows, and they kind of have that curved beak. Right. Now that ended up being a little bit bigger than I anticipated, but that's okay. We can kind of go back and fix that in a bit. Then the other bird, again facing the other way. Its tail kind of goes off of the canvas, and that is a-okay. Alright, now I'm going to go back in, since I did kind of make them a little bit bigger than I intended. I'm going to go back in with some kind of a light gray, like my background, and just kind of carve out the shape that I want. Also adds a nice little highlight behind the birds there if you want one. Just making sure it looks the way I want. Okay. I'm going to go in with my medium round brush this time so I can get some finer details, and just go back in, hammer out the shape of the birds. And I'll start to fill them in, not too solid, because I didn't want it to be really gestural, but I'm just kind of adding some more bulk to their shape. I'm adding a little bit of kind of fluff to his feathers as well. Some lines coming off him. Right. Now that we've got our birds kind of hammered out there, we can start to add in some other shades here. So I'm going to go in with kind of I'm going to dip my brush into my white without washing it off, and I'm just going to add a couple lines to define the inside of his body, just to kind of mark out where some highlights might be. And this painting is a lot of just kind of back and forth, so I'm going to keep going back and forth with my white and black until I am happy with the result. But while you're doing this, you can also kind of use that technique that we started on in the background, where you just take the back of your brush and give some texture to those birds, giving some like feather texture there. Just an extra kind of definition to the bird. So I'm going to let this dry for a little bit before I kind of add in the finishing details of our bird and our just everything else. So we'll pause this, let it all dry before we go in and, you know, give it all the finishing touches. So give this video a pause, and then when you're ready to get back into it, just don't pause. Guys, so once the birds are all dry and you've got kind of that shape that you like, I put a little bit of lightness in there just to kind of brighten it up. It was looking a little dark. I just added more white around the edges. So now we're going to go ahead and finish up the last couple of details here. So we're going to go in and do the little branch that they're sitting on. And that's really simple. I'm just going to dip into pure black, and you can see that it's not like a completely like solid line. It's really broken up. So I'm just going to kind of figure out where I want that to be, and kind of just dab my brush all along there. You can add like another little branch that it's coming off of if you want. That's really it for the branch. You're just doing a little line going across where they're sitting. And lastly, I'm going to create some eyes for them. So I'm going to grab some brown, and then we're going to create the eyes in just a second. So for the eyes, I'm going to grab my tiny detail brush. I'm going to take some brown and a little bit of white just to make it show up a bit better on the black. And if you don't want to use brown, you can use any other color. You can use blue or red or anything really that you want. I'm just going to take this lighter brown, and we're just going to make the iris for it, and then a little bit of shine, just so it's kind of like a suggestion of an eye. So we're going to make kind of a little U shape or a half crescent for the iris. So it's just like that. It's just a kind of like a little bit of the iris showing. So I'll do that for both of them. And then lastly, we'll just get a little bit of white in there for a little bit of shine. And I'll do that kind of where the black meets the brown. Alright, so then you have a little bit of shine on their eyes. Alright, now with that, that is really all I have for you. Feel free to add any other finishing details that you want. Guys, this is one of those paintings where it's like, you can kind of keep working on it if you want, but if you want it to be nice and kind of gestural and sketchy, you don't have to completely kind of fill in the shapes and blend it out all the way. So it's just kind of wherever you like it, just leave it at that. But our last final step, kind of unofficial last step, is to sign your painting. So I'm going to take my detail brush and take pure white paint on this dark background, and I'm just going to go to the bottom corner and put my initials. Just like that. So that everyone knows that this is my painting, and everyone knows that your paintings you did, and it's the best thing you've done all day. But yeah, so that is all I have for you. Thank you guys so much for painting with me today. We would love to see your guys' creations, so if you want to post them on Instagram or Facebook, please tag us at Splash Studio so you can see all of your lovely, wonderful creations. I hope you're staying safe and healthy out there, and I hope to see you on the next one.